My question is more so around the conversation of the wrongful convictions with like Kevin Strickland and Lamar Johnson, et cetera. The position that your office took in fighting and litigating that they not be released. I kind of want to get a better understanding of that in sense of the budget items and what we did in doing that.
Sure. Obviously this is a heavy issue too, right? Dealing with people's guilt and innocence. Our office is charged with all the criminal appeals in the state, and we have the criminal appeals division and a habeas unit. So when we're defending the convictions that took place at the lower court, we've got a team of serious lawyers that have been doing this for a very, very long time, including Sean McElprang, who heads our criminal division, as we defend those convictions. The same is true on habeas, as people are seeking a different kind of relief. I will say on the specifically on the Kevin Strickland case, we operate in the new law that was passed. We operate in a adversarial system.
Which new law are you talking about?
The law that was passed last year that gave the
prosecutors,
local prosecutors, the ability to seek relief, which had not existed before.
Mm-hmm.
It is an adversarial system that we have, meaning even if somebody believes very passionately that somebody is innocent or wrongly convicted, in court, having to answer questions on cross-examination, those sorts of things is a very, very important part of our system. And that is the role that we played in that process.
So in saying that, if everyone is saying that this person is innocent and we need to go back and review the files, is it normal practice of the Attorney General's office to say, well, we're going to fight against the wrongful conviction? And then not only that, after this person with the bill being passed and legislation couldn't have been on the Attorney General's side to go and advocate for those changes in the first place, of knowing that the state has a history of convicting people wrongfully?
Look, this is part of the job that any Attorney General, it's a very important function. I would say that there had been a conviction, obviously, by a jury of his peers. Mm-hmm. And that no court had ever actually ruled on innocence or wrongful conviction until the Jackson County judge. That was a very new process, so the rules weren't exactly clear about what role we have that we typically would have in either defending the state's conviction or asking questions. I don't think we want to be in a situation, though, that just because a local prosecutor thinks that somebody is innocent, that there's no...
But if they found evidence, it's more of not a think, it's a no at that point.
Well, but that evidence hasn't stood up. I guess what I'm saying is that evidence hasn't stood up in court for a judge to make determinations on witness credibility, those sorts of things, whatever DNA evidence might come forward. I think it's very important to test those things and to challenge those things in court for a judge or a jury to make a decision. And that's the role that we've played for 200 years in the office, and it's the role that I currently play as AG. But I tell you that I don't on a personal level. I mean, I don't want to see anybody who's been wrongly convicted send a day in prison.
And I get that you're talking about on a personal level. That's a different topic. But as the AG, as the person who's in the office currently, who was elected to be there, I think it's more so about the fact that we didn't do anything, you didn't do anything as the office goes to try to help offset this issue. You had to wait for legislation. You've been here for a moment, and as you always talk about, you come from certain communities and visit those communities where we see this happen on a day-to-day basis. Your office released the data of showing that minorities, specifically African Americans, are 98% more likely to be pulled over during traffic stops. So that there's a disparity there. My question is why didn't we, or why didn't your office use, or we're litigating a whole bunch of stuff, but this is about the livelihood of individuals. Why didn't you all come in a legislative aspect and come talk to the General Assembly and assist in trying to mitigate that problem early on? Like, there are many bills that are out here right now with racial profiling. Why aren't you all trying to push those types of legislation past the finish line in a budgetary standpoint? But then when you get on your social media after Kevin Strickland and whomever else has been exonerated, it's all, yay, look at what we did, but you didn't do anything.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, we weigh in on legislative issues all the time, and sometimes we take the position that the General Assembly, we will, whatever is passed, I mean, that's what we abide by. And so, but there are certain priorities of the office. There are certain things we weigh in and don't weigh in on.
And I understand that, but I think that it should always be a priority when someone in a system, as you said, as adversarial as it is, when there is a mistake. I think, as you know, as a lawyer in an office that is geared toward rights of individuals and making sure that there's due process and making sure that people who have been wronged, we set them straight. I think that it was a missed opportunity. And not only that, I think that it was egregious for anyone to have advocated for the release or lack thereof, or the lack of release of anyone who's wrongfully convicted. And I would like to see from your department now, since that legislation has been passed, what are we doing? What are you all doing to try to help mitigate that issue now? And what are you doing in teaching your attorneys, et cetera, working with the individual county prosecutors to try to help with that issue instead of fighting against them when they're trying to release them? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Representative.